Who played you? High school, I never liked school. I probably won't go back to school. To Mrs. School, I had a hell, I got my power hair. Why you making wrong here? Yeah, I had that. I never liked school though. My fun wish I never wanted to hear about school again. Naughty guy. Hey, I got a good lesson for y'all today. You know my page shadow band, so we gotta wait a little bit. But I'm about to tell y'all that. Hold on. Y'all can hear me now? Got a good lesson for y'all. You already know what time it is. Naughty cut, what's up? Got a good lesson for y'all today. You know my page shadow band. You gotta tap that on Instagram. I'm about to break this down like a Christmas tree. You feel me? We're gonna start the lesson at like 5K likes. You gotta get us out the shadow band, you feel me? Y'all see what's on the screen though. I wanna give y'all this quick lesson. It's not even quick, it's actually long. It's 5 chapters. I'm too missing screws. Like, how the hell I got my pole in here? Why you looking wrong in here? You can hear me, Nautica? We got a good lesson. It's about to get crazy. Y'all can hear me, right? Gotta make sure mic check good. This topic about to be crazy. I don't think y'all ready for this. I got 5 chapters for y'all. Make sure we're gonna start at 5K. Y'all gonna wanna hear this. This some shit I never told y'all before. The guilt trap. I'm about to tell you, it's about to get real dark. Yeah, I know. I hope y'all got y'all notes ready, man. Cause I know y'all for sure ain't heard this before. This comes from the inside out. You feel me? They not gonna tell y'all this shit. I ain't gonna lie. You feel me? Like they not gonna tell y'all. I'm trying to tell y'all, man. Okay. They not gonna tell y'all. You know what I'm saying? I put it on YouTube. I got you. I put it on YouTube. But we just gotta get through it because while I'm at my Wi-Fi ass. That's why I haven't been going live. Because it's really about where I'm at my Wi-Fi. So I can be able to give y'all these lessons. I'm too missing screws. Like how the hell I got my pole in here? You say you was listening to me since 11? You be on YouTube? I appreciate you. I'm gonna upload them just for you because you be really locked in. Naughty cat, I'll be playing. AK, what's up, CTU? That's a member right there. Dominican Dark Empath. Gotta watch out. Damn playing. How you feeling today? Get him call the body with the shaky, call him Mad Max. Where's my lighter at? Hey, we're gonna start the lesson at 5K. Let's get 5K. I gotta tap that screen. If y'all don't, they gonna kick me off. I be trying to get out of this game, bro. Expose this shit for y'all. I probably won't go back to school. I know you got me. I already know. Gemini. Could y'all hear me? For the Christmas tree. Y'all know every day is fucking Christmas. Yeah, 5K like we're gonna start. I got 5 long chapters for y'all. It's about to get real dark. I'm about to break this shit down. Y'all never heard. I'm trying to tell y'all, it's a trap. Y'all see what's on the screen, man. Y'all know every time we come on here, I'm gonna give y'all something y'all never heard before. You feel me? Y'all could always. It's gonna be on YouTube too. I'm gonna put it on YouTube, and it's a book. It's just gonna be a digital copy of the lesson too. If y'all want it, you know what I'm saying? And it'll be free in CTU, or you could get it personally if you want. But I need y'all to listen to. Fuck all that. I need y'all to listen. You know what I'm saying? Have your notes ready. It's about to get real dark. Y'all know I get on here, I expose shit, and I go. I just try to teach y'all the dark side. I'm telling you, I gotta study evil too. If you're a good person, if you're an empath, you gotta study evil too. And that's why I'm here to teach how to evil, but not how to do evil to protect you from the evil. You know what I'm saying? If you're a good person, you better study the dark. I'm telling you, we coming for you. You gotta study this shit. It gets scary, but once you understand it in patterns, learn pattern recognition, you learn yourself, you love yourself, you get out that trauma bond. I'm telling you, you gonna be like, I ain't scared of no fucking narcissists no more, man. Like, I ain't scared of these niggas. We gonna fear you. Cause you know our game. It's simple though, but it's not that simple. It's simple when I break it down to y'all in a simple way though. Just don't feel like you crazy though. Cause you definitely not crazy. You just being targeted. You feel me? Apex predators around this motherfucker. We gonna start the lesson at 5K, y'all. This shit about to get real dark. It's the guilt hook. I got 5 long chapters, classes in session. It's like a podcast. I need y'all to lock in and listen. You hear me? I'll make sure the audio's straight. I'm about to go crazy in this one. Alright? I put a lot of crazy info in here that's gonna help y'all. You feel me? On my mama. Y'all know we always gonna deliver. You feel me? This one, we always got good lessons, but this one of them ones. This one of them ones. I love you too. Love you more. Thank y'all for the gifts too. I miss y'all. You feel me? We got better Wi-Fi right now. We good. We gonna get through this 5 chapter. I got 5 long chapters. Y'all know I ain't gonna give y'all. Just wait. Just wait. I'm just excited to get y'all this because I ain't been on live in a minute. You feel me? I ain't seen my CTU members in a minute. Christmas Tree University. If y'all can hear me, put a Christmas tree in the comments though. We're gonna make sure audio good. Alright. That's all I really care about is the audio. I need y'all to hear me and listen and lock in. And if y'all need me to repeat anything, I got y'all. Heather, what's up? Heather ready to learn. I got some marshmallows in this motherfucker. I'm looking at the comments. I see y'all. Yeah, Heather and Jewel. Y'all put the right Christmas tree too. You know we don't do that regular tree, man. 5K, we're gonna start, y'all. 5K. Come on, get us there. Get us there. I'm ready to start the lesson. 5K. Tap the screen, share it, repost it live. Get it out there. I can't keep spamming it or they'll block us. But y'all gotta interact while I'm giving these lessons out so I can give y'all a full lesson. That's why TikTok been on some weird. It been on some weird shit. I don't like this platform like that, but it's making y'all engage. You know what I'm saying? I don't need no money. I don't need no gifts from y'all. Just tap that motherfucking screen, interact, and keep us on here so we can just get this lesson out. All right? We got 5 long chapters. I want to give y'all education for the day. Y'all daily dose of narcissism. You know what I'm saying? And then we're gonna head about our way. Feel me? But this one y'all gonna want to hear though. No cap. I'm talking about the guilt trap. Man. This shit about to get dark, bro. Man. The guilt trap. It's a lot. It's 5 long chapters of this. Not just one. So we're gonna be doing some talking. Psychology. You know what I'm saying? 5K, we're gonna start though, y'all. I'm giving people a chance. We gotta get back in the algorithm. We be getting blocked. You know, we be getting a lot of our followers don't know we even live right now. So I need teamwork, make the dream work. Everybody that's tapping, everybody that's liking and sharing and reposting, I appreciate y'all. We making a teamwork. That's how we get back in the algorithm, get our page back in the green. You know what I'm saying? And help as much people as possible. You feel me? That's why they been shadow banning me, y'all. Like I was going live like last week. I was going live like every day. Y'all just ain't get the notifications because I'm shadow banned. When I'm shadow banned, y'all get it late or y'all never get it at all. That's why we gotta get out the shadow ban. Cause I be giving. I know I'm always coming here and get out of the game, bro. I be trying to fight the shit, restart the live, everything to get y'all in here, bro. Like all type of shit, man. He bothering you right now, so it's all God got you. Stay to this lesson. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna answer y'all questions. I'll help y'all after the lesson. How much likes we got? We 4.7. We almost at 5. We're gonna start at 5K. Yeah, Madison. That's why you ain't see me. They put a nigga in a blender. Tiff, what's good? You ready to learn? Damn, we have 5K already. Y'all ready? Could y'all hear me? Y'all ain't playing. I need y'all to hear me though. I mean, make sure y'all put a Christmas tree. Y'all can hear me. I'm about to get into this. You know what I'm saying? Let's go. Put a Christmas tree if y'all can hear me. And y'all, while we giving a lesson, while I'm giving this lesson, do not stop tapping the screen. Do not stop interacting, please, y'all. They will shut us down. Okay, they done it before. All right, I'm trying to tell y'all. So if y'all want to get the lesson, make sure y'all here with me. All right, just listen. All right. Now, do I see Christmas trees? Y'all can hear me. All right, look. Y'all see the title on the screen. This is the guilt hook, y'all. Why empaths stay loyal to people who punish them for having boundaries. You know what I'm saying? Y'all see what's on the screen. Alright? The guilt hook. This is chapter 1, okay? It's 5 chapters. Stay with me. The guilt hook is not guilt, okay, y'all? The guilt hook is not guilt. It's control wearing sadness. I'm gonna say it again. The guilt hook is not guilt. It is control wearing sadness. Okay? Tonight, we're talking about the guilt hook. And a lot of people think guilt is just an emotion. No. In toxic dynamics, y'all, guilt becomes a rope. It becomes a leash. It becomes a silent weapon. It becomes the thing that keeps good people standing in rooms that are destroying them. You know what I'm saying? Listen, let me break down something most people don't talk about enough. The guilt hook does not start when the victim tries to leave, okay? I need y'all to pay attention. Like I said, the guilt hook does not start when the victim tries to leave. It starts way earlier than that. It starts the moment the manipulator studies what kind of conscience that you have. You know what I'm saying? I gotta use certain words like manipulator. Whenever I say manipulator or other people, y'all, I'm referring as narcissists. But social media, we gotta finesse the words a little. But we speak about nothing but narcissism, okay? I just have to word certain words different, okay? So just stay with me, y'all. Now look, like I said, the guilt hook does not start when the victim tries to leave. It starts way earlier than that. It starts the moment the manipulator studies what kind of conscience that you have, okay? See, some people don't target you because you're weak, like I said. They target you because you are strong in the wrong direction. You are strong in the wrong direction. You are strong in loyalty. You hear me? Y'all with me? I'm telling you, you're strong in the wrong direction. When I say that, I mean this. You are strong in loyalty. You are strong in understanding. You are strong in mercy. You are strong in seeing potential. You are strong in giving people one more chance. You are strong in trying to fix what you did not break. That is what makes you easy to hook. You know what I'm saying? That is what makes you easy to hook. The guilt hook is when somebody learns that your heart can be used against your mind. Okay? Y'all with me, man? The guilt hook is when somebody learns that your heart can be used against your mind. They learn you don't just react to pain. You react to the idea that you cause pain. You feel me? That's the hook. So now the game changes. Now every boundary you set becomes a wound to them. Every consequence becomes you being cruel. Every moment of distance becomes abandonment. Every time you protect yourself, they make it feel like you attacked them. You know what I'm saying? That's not love. That's emotional hostage taking. Emotional hostage taking, okay? And empaths fall for this harder than most because empaths don't just listen to words. They feel atmosphere. You know what I'm saying? They feel tone. They feel brokenness. They feel the child behind the mask. They feel the pain in people, empaths. You know what I'm saying? That sounds beautiful, but in the wrong hands, that becomes a trap. A big trap. Because when the manipulator, when I say manipulator, y'all know what I'm talking about. The nurse, okay? Learn something very fast. They learn they do not have to convince you that they are right. They only have to make you feel bad enough to stop protecting yourself. You know what I'm saying? That's the psychology behind it, y'all. That is the guilt hook. The guilt hook says this. After all I've been through, this is how you treat me. So you just going to leave me like everybody else. I guess I mean nothing to you. I was there for you and now you acting different. You change. You cold now. You selfish. You think you better than me now. You know what I'm saying? Listen, hear me carefully. Those statements are not always communication. Sometimes those statements are emotional pressure. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes those statements are designed to make you return to your position. Not because they love you. It's because you're bound to disturb their control. You know what I'm saying? You're bound to disturb their control. Now, this is where people get confused. The guilt hook works best. It works best when a manipulator mixes real pain with hidden control. That's why victims stay confused. Because sometimes the person does feel hurt. You know what I'm saying? It do. Sometimes they do feel scared. Sometimes they do feel empty. But their feelings do not excuse their behavior. Their pain does not turn manipulation to honesty. A wounded person can still be controlling. A broken person can still be dangerous to your peace. And a crying person can still be trying to dominate the room. And that's what people miss. Y'all were taught to look for anger. You were taught to look for obvious evil. You were taught to look for loud abuse. You know what I'm saying? But some of the deepest control comes through sadness. You know what I'm saying? Through disappointment. It comes through silence. Comes through withdrawal. Comes through that energy that makes you feel like a bad person for breathing without permission. You know what I'm saying? That's the guilt hook right there. It is control without shouting. You know what I'm saying? It is domination without direct force. It is a pressure system built on your conscious. You know what I'm saying? And if I'm talking from the inside out, let me make it even plainer for y'all. Okay, look, a manipulator does not always need your love first. Okay, they need your emotional responsibility. They need your emotional responsibility. That is deeper. Okay, look, because if I can make you feel responsible for my emotions, they trying to block us out. Make sure y'all react to the tab on the screen, y'all. They trying to shut us out. I told y'all, man. I want to get through this lesson for y'all, though. Like I said, if I can make you feel responsible for my emotions, I don't need change. You would change yourself. You will over-explain. You would keep checking in. You would abandon your own anger. You would edit your truth. You would stay longer than your spirit wanted to stay. You would call it compassion when really you are being conditioned. That's why the guilt hook is powerful, y'all. It turns your goodness into a prison. And let me go deeper, see. The guilt hook is not just I feel bad. It's I feel bad, so now you owe me access. It's I feel hurt, so now your boundary is invalid. It's I'm sad, so now you have to return. It's I'm struggling, so now you can't hold me accountable. It's I had a hard life, so now my behavior must be excused. No. Pain explains patterns, okay? It does not excuse destruction. You hear me? Pain explains patterns. You hear me? It does not excuse destruction. A lot of good people ruin their healing because they keep responding to pain while ignoring patterns. You know what I'm saying? That's the difference between people who stay trapped and people who get free. Trapped people keep asking, do they hurt? Free people start asking, what happens to me every time I try to protect myself? That question changes everything because the guilt hook is not about one sentence, y'all. It's a system. I told y'all. System. It is a repeated emotional punishment every single time you move towards freedom. That's what the guilt hook is. Pay attention to that. When you speak up, do they collapse? When you pull back, do they spiral? When you say no, do they suddenly become fragile? When you hold them accountable, do they become the victim? When you stop overgiving, do they act like you betrayed them? See, y'all, that is not random. That is training. That's you being conditioned. You know what I'm saying? And let me say something that hits hard. A manipulator loves an empath. When I say manipulators, y'all, I'm talking about narcissists, okay? I just got to use that word more than I'll use the word narc, okay? Like I said, a manipulator loves an empath because an empath will sit in a burning room and call it understanding. I'm going to say it one more time. A manipulator loves an empath because an empath will sit in a burning room and call it understanding. An empath will hear pain and lower their guard. An empath will mistake emotional intensity for truth. An empath will confuse guilt with responsibility. An empath will think maybe I'm being too hard while being actively drained. That is why we love empaths. That is why they love empaths. Because empaths will search for the wound while ignoring the weapon. You feel me? Empaths will search for the wound while ignoring the weapon, y'all. You feel me? You feel me? Y'all with me, y'all? Listen. Everybody new here. Just tap the screen. Just chapter 1. We got 5 long chapters. The guilt trap. You know what I'm saying? That's what we talking about. The guilt hook, the guilt trap, whatever you want to call it, man. Shit. But alright, look. It's the guilt hook. Now look. Like I said, that's why we love empaths, okay? Because empaths will search for the wound while ignoring the weapon. And guess what? The weapon is guilt. The manipulator knows something. Fear makes people run, and guilt makes people stay. You feel me? Fear makes people run, guilt makes people stay. The manipulator knows that. That's why the guilt hook is so deadly, y'all. People know how to leave anger fast, then they know how to leave the pity. You know what I'm saying? They know how to leave disrespect faster than they know how to leave someone who looks broken. And when the manipulator realizes that, they stop needing to overpower you. They just need to trigger your compassion and make your nervous system turn against your own boundaries. Psychology. You know what I'm saying? Now, let me talk to y'all. Some of y'all were never addicted to the person, okay? You were addicted to relieving the guilt they planted in you. That's why you kept going back. Not because it felt good. It's because the guilt felt unbearable. You weren't chasing love. You were chasing relief. And every time you came back, you got temporary relief, right? You got temporary relief. You got to feel like the good person again. You got to feel like you weren't abandoning them. You got to feel like you fixed the atmosphere. But then the cycle started again. Because the guilt hook is not designed to heal, y'all. It's designed to reset control. I'm about to reset the control. So I can break you down like Christmas tree. So look, if you really want freedom, hear this clearly, y'all. If you really want freedom, hear this clearly. The moment your boundary makes somebody perform pain to control you, you are not in the conversation anymore, okay? You're in condition. I'm going to say it again. Listen to me, y'all. This is important. Like I said, the moment your boundary makes somebody perform pain to control you, you are not in the conversation anymore. You're in conditioning. The moment your peace requires you to betray yourself to keep somebody emotionally stable, that is not love. That is spiritual, emotional, and psychological debt bondage. I said spiritual, emotional, and psychological debt bondage. Debt bondage, y'all. And a lot of y'all were trained to think being a good person means never let somebody feel hurt because of your decision. That is false. Sometimes your healing will hurt the person who benefited from your wounds. You get what I'm saying? That does not mean your healing is wrong. Okay? I want everybody in the room to hear this. Look, guilt is not always a sign you did something wrong. Okay? Sometimes guilt is a sign you finally stopped doing what kept somebody comfortable at your expense. That's the shift. Some guilt is conscious, but some guilt is conditional, okay? You hear me? Don't forget that. Some guilt is conscious, but some guilt is also conditioning. And if you don't know the difference, you will keep calling manipulation love. You feel me? That's the first chapter, okay? The guilt hook is control wearing sadness, okay? The guilt hook is pressure wearing pain. The guilt hook is domination hiding inside disappointment. And the reason it works is because good people would rather suffer than feel like they became the villain in somebody else's story. That's why this lesson matters, y'all, because once you see the hook, it stops feeling like love. It starts feeling like strategy, you know what I'm saying? That was chapter 1. Y'all like how y'all feel about that? Y'all want chapter 2? Y'all with me? We got 5 chapters. Just make sure y'all tapping the screen while we talking though. You know what I'm saying? You're not wrong though, you feel me? Y'all want chapter 2? Mahogany, what's up? You say you done that? Now look, y'all. Chapter 2 is why empaths mistake guilt for love and become easy to control, okay? Y'all want ready for this? Is why empaths mistake guilt for love and become easy to control. Make sure y'all tab, bro, okay? So they won't ban us for this. Alright? Now, let's get deeper, okay? A lot of people in this room are asking the real question. Why do empaths fall for the guilt hook so hard? Why does it work on good people so well? Why do people with the biggest hearts stay stuck in the darkest rooms? Okay, here's why, y'all. Because empaths are not just emotional, they're relational. They do not only feel what they feel what everybody else feels around them. You know what I'm saying? They read tension, they read shifts, they read energy, they read silence, they read discomfort, they read hurt, they read little changes in tone before other people even notice something change. That makes them powerful, but it also makes them vulnerable. You know what I'm saying? And we know that. Because if I know you are the kind of person who hates disharmony, guess what? I do not have to beat you. I just have to disturb the emotional atmosphere and you will rush to fix it. Psychology, y'all with me? Y'all need to get this book, bro. This is CTU is free, but it's a lot of shit in here, bro. I ain't gonna lie, man. Oh my god. But listen, I'm gonna say that again. I'm giving y'all a lot of psychology here. No cap. Listen, if I know you are the kind of person who hates disharmony, I do not have to beat you, okay? I just have to disturb the emotional atmosphere and you will rush to fix it. You know what I'm saying? That is how a lot of manipulators use empaths. When I say manipulators, I'm talking about narcissism, okay? I'm talking about straight narcissists, okay? They find the one person in a room who cannot relax while somebody else is hurting. The one person who takes emotional tension personally. The one person who feels responsible for restoring peace. That is who gets hooked first. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of empaths think their weakness is love. No. Their weakness is over responsibility. That's deeper. See, love by itself is not the trap. Okay? The trap is when love mixes with responsibility that was never yours. Okay? Now you are not just caring. Now you are carrying. Now you are just present. You feel me? No, now you are not just present. Now you are performing emotional labor for a grown person who learned how to make their pain your job. That is where the guilt hook gets strong. Okay? Because empaths do something dangerous. They often believe that if they understand the wound deeply enough, they can love the pattern out of the person. Yeah, hear me? I gotta say that again because I want you to understand. Said empaths do something dangerous. They often believe that if they understand the wound deeply enough, they can love the pattern out of the person. You know what I'm saying? That belief destroys people right there because now every red flag becomes a backstory. Every lie becomes trauma. Every disrespect becomes fear of abandonment. Every mood swing becomes pain. Every controlling act becomes insecurity. And every violation becomes a cry for help. And once you do that, you stop seeing what is happening. You know what I'm saying? You stop seeing the effect on your body. You stop seeing the mental fog. You stop seeing how drained you are. You stop seeing how your boundaries keep disappearing. You stop seeing how your empathy is being converted into obedience. You feel me? How your empathy is being converted into obedience, y'all. Listen. That is why guilt gets confused with love because empaths were taught that love means staying soft no matter what. Love means understanding no matter what. Love means being patient no matter what. Love means not giving up on people. Love means helping people through their darkness. Love means seeing the child behind the behavior. But what they are not, they were not taught this, okay? Real love does not require you to abandon your nervous system. Real love does not require you to betray your own reality. Real love does not punish clarity. You hear me? Real love does not punish clarity. And real love does not need confusion to survive. So now I'm going to speak from inside the narcissist dynamic, the mindset. Listen, y'all. Why do manipulators, aka narcissists, love empaths? Because empaths keep translating harm into humanity. That's the gold mine. If I hurt you, you immediately start asking what happened to me instead of what I'm doing to you. I already have an advantage. Okay, I'm talking from the inside out. You feel me? Look, you know what I said? If I hurt you and you immediately just start asking what happened to me, what happened to me, the manipulator, instead of what I'm doing to you, the victim, I already have an advantage. You know what I'm saying? If I disrespect you and your first instinct is to understand me instead of confront me, I already have an opening. If I drain you and you call it compassion, I can stay in character forever. I can stay in character long. If I make you cry and you leave feeling sorry for me, guess what? The hook is deep. That's why empaths are attracted to control driven people. You hear me? You feel me? Listen, y'all. Not because empaths are weak, it's because empaths can be emotionally recruited. Empaths can be emotionally recruited. You feel me? Listen, y'all. Let me say that again. Empaths get emotionally recruited into carrying the emotional consequences of somebody else's behavior. That's not love. That is unpaid emotional servitude. You know what I'm saying? And the reason it feels spiritual, deep, and hard to break is because the empathy, no, the empath's identity gets tied into being the one who understands, the one who sees the hidden pain, the one who can handle the darkness, the one who doesn't give up, the one who loves beyond the mask. That identity is dangerous when you meet somebody who benefits from never changing, especially somebody who don't even see nothing wrong with their behavior. You know what I'm saying? Because now they don't just hook your heart, they hook your self-image, identity. You know what I'm saying? Now leaving feels like failure. Now boundaries feel like cruelty. Now distance feels like it feels cold. Now detachment feels unnatural. Now saying no feels like becoming the kind of person you promised yourself you would never be. That is why the guilt hook works so well on empaths. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't just target feelings, it targets identity. The empath starts asking, am I becoming heartless? Am I being too hard? What if they really need me? What if nobody else understands them? What if I'm abandoning them in their lowest moment? What if I'm the one who changed? Look at that. The whole focus turns inward. The empath becomes the suspect. Meanwhile, the manipulator, the narcissist pattern stays untouched. You think we gonna stop? You know what I'm saying? That is not accidental, y'all. That is the design. And let's go darker, see. A lot of empaths were prepared for this before they ever met the manipulator. That's the part people skip. See, some people were raised in environments where love already came with guilt. Okay? Where being a good child meant being easy to manage. Where they had to read moods early. Where they had to stay small to keep peace. Where tension in the house felt like danger. Where approval felt earned through emotional caretaking. Where somebody else's sadness could control the whole room. You know what I'm saying? If that was your training, then the guilt hook does not feel foreign, y'all. It feels familiar to you, okay? This is why some victims call the dynamic intense, spiritual, magnetic, or hard to explain. Sometimes it's not just chemistry, y'all. It is recognition. Your nervous system recognizes the emotional workload. So when a manipulator comes in with pain, inconsistency, charm, brokenness, and just enough vulnerability to wake up your rescuer, the empath locks in. Now the empath thinks, I see the real them. I know they are hurting. I know they're not all that bad. I know they just need real love. I know everybody else gave up on them. I know I can reach the part that nobody else can reach. And that belief becomes the cage right there. Oh my God, my empaths. I love y'all. Look, I'm giving y'all game. I got y'all. Like I said, that belief becomes the cage because once the empath becomes emotionally invested in who the person could be, they stop responding to who the person is. I'm going to say that one more time, y'all. The psychology. Once the empath becomes emotionally invested in who the person can be, who that fake, that mask, that fake person, you emotionally invested in that person, you think I'm ever be? No. They stop responding to the person who the really person is. They forget that person, that mask, not That's not real. You feel me? Y'all get what I'm saying? Listen, that right there, y'all gotta understand. That's it. A lot of y'all were loyal to potential and betrayed by patterns, okay? You were in love with possibility. You were committed to the hidden version of them. You were giving your energy to a future self they performed but never sustained. And every time reality showed up, guilt came to cover it. You hear me? Every time reality showed up, guilt came to cover it. Soon as you got tired, they got sad. Soon as you got angry, they got fragile. Soon as you got distant, they got emotional. Soon as you got clear, they got confused. Soon as you named a pattern, they reminded you of their pain. That is how guilt protects the mass, y'all, because guilt keeps the empath focused on the manipulated suffering instead of the manipulated strategy. And here's the twist: nobody gonna tell y'all empath. See, your empathy does not make you hard to control. Unhealed empathy can make you easier to control than almost anybody, okay? Because if your empathy has no boundaries, people can use it like a door, y'all. You feel me? The manipulator does not need to overpower you. They only need to activate your compassion faster than your discernment. I ain't gotta get you mad. I ain't gotta do all this. I ain't gotta do nothing. This is what many victims never realize, okay? They thought they were staying because of love. A lot of them were staying because of emotional conditioning mixed with identity. And the biggest trap of all of this is empaths often feel deepest guilt when they finally start participating. Not because they are wrong, because their whole system was trained to feel valuable through emotional sacrifice. So when they stop overgiving, when they stop chasing, stop fixing, stop explaining, stop rescuing, they don't just lose the person. They temporarily lose the role that made them feel needed. You feel like you lost your identity. You feel me? That hurts. That shakes people. That's why healing feels lonely at first. You get what I'm saying? Because now you are learning how to exist without being emotionally used. You hear me? You're learning how to exist without being, I said, emotionally used, y'all. Okay? You feel me? Y'all with me? And let me tell y'all the room with this one. Some of y'all were never loved for who you were. You were valued for how much pain you could absorb without leaving. You know what I'm saying? This is why they called you special. That is why they called you different. That is why they said nobody understands them like you. That is why they kept coming back to your softness. It was not always because you were loved deeply. Sometimes it was because you were easier to emotionally feed on than other people. That truth hurts, but that truth, it's going to free a lot of y'all, okay? Because once the empath realizes I am not guilty for refusing to be somebody's emotional container while they destroy me, everything starts changing. Now they stop worshiping their own suffering. Now they stop romanticizing endurance. Now they stop confusing access with intimacy. Now they stop thinking understanding somebody means surrendering to them. That is the lesson, y'all. Empaths do not get trapped because they love too much. They get trapped because they were trained to turn pain into purpose. And manipulators know exactly how to exploit that. You feel me? Yeah, I know when I say manipulator, we talk about the narcs. Alright. I just can't use that word so much repeatedly. I gotta be different with the word. Alright, so look. The healing is not becoming cold, okay, y'all? The healing is learning that compassion without discernment becomes self-betrayal. You hear me? Compassion without discernment. Compassion without discernment becomes self-betrayal. You can care and still leave. You can understand and still detach. You can see their pain and still protect your peace. You can have empathy without volunteering for destruction. You know what I'm saying? That's what breaks the guilt hook, okay? The moment the empath learns that feeling sorry for somebody does not mean staying available to be hard, okay? The whole system starts collapsing. Okay? Empaths don't just hear pain, y'all. They answer it. You feel me? They answer to it. You know what I'm saying? The trap was not love. The trap was over responsibility. They did not just pull on your heart. They recruited your identity. A lot of y'all were loyal to potential, betrayed by pattern. You know what I'm saying? Who in the lie was always the one trying to keep the peace going? Did anybody in this room mistake being needed for being loved? I'm talking to my empaths right now, man. We don't target no weak women. You feel me? You're not weak though, Mahogany. You were actually a good person. Like empath, we need more empaths. We just need more empath with boundaries. That's it. With strong boundaries. Okay, that's it. Now look, y'all ready for chapter 3? How y'all like that chapter? We got 5 chapters. 1 out of 10. Put a Christmas tree if y'all ready for Hey y'all, let's try to get 30K by the next chapter. 30K likes. Get us there, y'all. I'm about to break this shit down. Cause this chapter 3 about to get crazy, y'all. This is the language of the guilt hook. This is how manipulators turn your boundary into betrayal. Y'all ready for this? The language of the guilt hook. That's chapter 3, y'all. Oh my god, this shit about to get dark. I don't think y'all ready for this. Let me take a hit of my Christmas tree. And then we gonna start, y'all. Y'all just keep tapping the screen. I'm gonna make sure y'all get this info. I got y'all though. Class in session. Y'all know when we come on live, it's in session. You might as well put your headphones in or something and just listen. It's like a podcast every time. Like you can listen to me when you go to sleep. You can listen to me when you waking up. You going to work. Whatever, man. That's what I do this specifically for y'all. I want you calm and locked in on my voice. I got y'all. I want y'all to hear this. And I'm going to upload this on YouTube. So YouTube, y'all going to see this on YouTube. Make sure y'all hype the video up. Share it up. You feel me? Press that hype button. It's free. So we could be pushed on the algorithm on YouTube too, man. They definitely here. She said they definitely here. Alright, y'all ready? Y'all can hear me? Put a Christmas tree. Let's go. This is chapter 3, y'all. The language of the guilt hook, okay? How manipulators turn your boundary into a betrayal. Okay? Look. Now let's expose the language. Ready? We about to expose the language, okay? Look. Because a lot of people think manipulation is always obvious, okay? They think it always sounds cold. They think it always sounds cruel. They think it always sounds hateful. No! The most effective manipulation often sounds emotional, okay, y'all? It sounds wounded. It sounds disappointed. It sounds confused. It sounds heartbroken. It sounds like somebody just trying to be understood. Remember, we talk about the language of the guilt hook, okay? This is why people miss it, okay? The guilt hook does not always come through domination, okay? A lot of times it comes through wording, through implication, through atmosphere, through phases that make your body feel heavy before your mind even catches what just happened. Psychology. That's the language of the guilt hook, y'all. It's the art of making your boundary feel like violence. It's the art of making your distance feel like abandonment. It's the art of making your self-protection feel like selfishness. Okay? See, let me break this shit down like a Christmas tree. How this works? See, a manipulator usually does not attack the boundary directly first, okay? They attack your self-image. They attack how you see yourself. They attack the part of you that wants to be fair. The part of you that wants to be kind. The part of you that wants to believe you are not the problem. So instead of saying, I want control, they say, you change. Y'all see what I just did there? Instead of telling you, I want control, I say you change. You see that reverse psychology. Say, imagine y'all say that to an empath and you're a manipulator. Real time, it would be real time, y'all. To let y'all know y'all not y'all not crazy. Feel me? Like I said, instead of saying I hate losing access to you, they say you don't care anymore. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? Instead of saying I want you back in position, they say I guess I just mean nothing to you now. You see the manipulation right there? You see the manipulation right there that I just did? See? Look at that. The real issue got hidden, y'all. Now the conversation is no longer about what they did. Now the conversation is about your character. I said I hate losing. Instead of saying I hate losing access to you, I say I guess. I say you don't care anymore. Instead of saying I want control, I say you change. You feel me? I gotta. It's little shit like that. You feel me, y'all? But look, now you no longer asking why did they disrespect me. You're asking, am I being too harsh? That's one of the darkest parts of the guilt hook. It redirects the spotlight from the pattern to your identity. You know what I'm saying? Let's go. The switch right there is the trap, okay? Let's go line by line. Alright, we're going line by line. Number one, I say you change. The you change line right here, look. This is one of the cleanest guilt hook lines ever, okay? Because sometimes you did change. You got stronger. You got tired. You got clearer. You got less available. You stop over explaining. You stop apologizing for basic needs. You stop being easy to access. So when they say you change, what they often mean is you are no longer operating the version of yourself that benefited from you. You know what I'm saying? That line is powerful because it makes growth sound like betrayal. You know what I'm saying? Now the victim starts defending themselves. No, I still care. No, I'm just trying to protect my peace. No, I'm just overwhelmed. No, I'm still here. You see that? You already being pulled off your center. You know what I'm saying? A healthy person might notice your change and ask what happened. But a narcissist, a manipulator, a controller person notices your change and makes it feel morally wrong. There's a difference. That's the distance. Now, line 2. The second one. After everything I did for you, we're gonna break this down. This line, when they say this, after everything I did to you, this line right here, this is that line is emotional debt collection. Emotional debt collection. This is when care, favors, time, support, gifts, or past loyalty gets weaponized. Now the message is clear. After everything I did for you, that's what they said, right? Because I gave to you. You owe me continued access. Because I showed up before. You cannot hold me accountable now. Because I did something good, you must tolerate something damaging. See, that is not generosity. That is investment with hidden conditions. And this line hits so hard on empaths because empaths hate seeming ungrateful, y'all. You heard? Empaths hate seeming ungrateful. I'm telling y'all the psychology and science behind this shit, y'all. See, empaths hate seeming ungrateful. So now, even if they are being mistreated, they start thinking about the good moments. They start thinking about what the person did do. They start minimizing the damage. That is why that line works, y'all. It mixes memory with obligation. Memory with obligation. Now, you are not responding to what is happening now. You are being emotionally dragged backwards, okay? Y'all with me, y'all? Y'all with me? Yeah, he just trying. If he said that to you, exactly, Sparkle Dior, he trying to trigger that impact, the guilt. We talk about this lesson, the guilt. That's the guilt hook. That's why this shit's so dark. All right, y'all. Look, now we about to go over line 3. Y'all with me? Look, this is another thing they say. I guess I'll just leave you alone. Okay, now this line right here. I guess I'll just leave you alone. This one sounds harmless, right? But a lot of times it is not surrender, y'all. It is punishment wrapped in fake acceptance. Punishment wrapped in fake acceptance. It is designed to make you rush into and repair. I said it's designed to make you rush in. I said rush in and repair. Okay? It creates an emotional drop in the room. It creates that feeling like something bad is about to happen. It creates pressure. When I say, oh, I guess I'll just leave you alone. You know what I'm saying? I guess I'll just leave you alone. You know what I'm saying? See? It creates pressure. Now the empath starts chasing. You know what I'm saying? No, that's not what I meant. This is what the empath saying. No, you don't have to leave me alone. No, I'm just trying to explain. No, please don't take it like that. And once again, the boundary gets blurred. Notice the move, y'all. They act like they are respecting your space while emotionally punish you for taking it. This is advanced. It's levels to this. This is advanced guilt hooking, y'all. It's called advanced guilt hooking. Because now you look like the one causing distance, and they get to play the wounded innocence. Now they act. Now they the empath. Yeah. Oh man. Now look, we got another line. This line right here, y'all. Look, line 4. Everybody leaves me. Okay. Oh man. Empath. You hear that? Empath. Look. Everybody leaves me. Okay. This is the one. This is one of the most powerful lines in the whole system, y'all, because now you are no longer just dealing with a moment, okay? Now you feel like you are stepping into a pattern. Now you feel like one more person who failed them. Now you feel like their history is sitting in your lap. This line recruits your compassion immediately. Everybody leaves me? That line right there recruits your compassion immediately. But here's a deeper breakdown. When somebody says everybody leaves them, that can be pain. It can also be pressure. The question is not just whether they are hurting. The question is what happens after they say it. You know what I'm saying? Do they use that pain to become more honest, more accountable, more aware, or more respectful? Or do they use that pain to make you stay quiet, overgive, and tolerate more? That tells you what that really is, okay? Because repeated abandonment pain does not automatically make somebody safe. Sometimes it makes them more desperate for control. You know what I'm saying? Now, another line. Line number 5 is, I didn't mean it like that. I didn't mean it like that, okay? This line by itself is not always manipulation, okay? But in a guilt hook system, it becomes a pattern of escape. You bring up impact, they shrink into misunderstanding. You bring up harm, they turn it into confusion. You bring up your reality, they turn it into intent. Now you are not talking about what happened anymore. Now you are debating whether they are secretly a bad person. And because empaths do not want to judge unfairly, they start softening. That is why chronic confusion is such a useful tactic. It dissolves accountability without direct denial. The harm stays, but clarity disappears. And the moment clarity disappears, guilt has room to grow. Feel me? Don't forget that. Now, line number 6, y'all. You know what I'm going through. They'll say something like this. You know what I'm going through. You know what I'm going through. This one is heavy because it weaponized context. It says my struggle should change the standards. My pain should cancel the impact. My hard season should make you easier to mistreat. Now the victim feels cruel for bringing up anything up. You walking on eggshells. Now they start waiting for a better time. Now they start shrinking their needs. Now they start telling themselves maybe later. Maybe they're just stressed. Maybe I should be more patient. You know what I'm saying? See, it must go by, sometimes even years. That's how context get turned into a shield. Pain matters. Life stress matter, y'all. Struggle matters, but none of that gives somebody the right to train you to accept emotional damage without complying. You know what I'm saying? Now look, another line is Line number 7 is, so I'm the bad guy now. So I'm the bad guy now. Look, this is the guilt hook theater. That's what we call it. This is guilt hook theater. You feel me? Because instead of staying in the conversation, they jump to identity collapse. I Now the conversation becomes extreme. Now it becomes dramatic. Now it becomes black and white. Now you feel pressure to comfort them. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of victims instantly respond with, "No, you're not a bad person. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying what hurt me." Exactly. Now your energy has been redirected. That's the whole point. The original concern is gone. Now you cleaning up their emotions while your own issue remains untouched. This is classic containment flip. You hear me? That's a classic containment flip, y'all. They take your clarity and make you manage the emotional aftermath of speaking it. You feel me? All right, line number 8, y'all. Look, silence, withdrawal, and cold energy. The guilt hook is not only verbal, okay? See, I thought it was just verbal. Okay? Okay? Listen. Like I said, line number 8, silence, withdrawal, cold energy. The guilt hook is not only verbal. Sometimes the deepest version is non-verbal. You set a boundary, suddenly the mood shifts. They get cold. They get distant. They stop talking. They withhold warmth. They create heaviness. They make the room feel tense. Nothing is said, but everything is communicated. You feel me? And because empaths are highly sensitive to atmosphere, this works very well on them. On y'all, we know y'all. See? They start scanning. They start worrying. They start trying to fix what was never there to fix. They start undoing their own boundary just to make the emotional pressure stop. I could fake like I'm mad, and you gonna feel like you did something wrong. This is why silence can be one of the strongest guilt hook tactics. It makes you punish yourself. You know what I'm saying? Now, the real structure underneath all these phases, y'all, that I just gave y'all. Listen, the language may change, but the structure stays the same, okay? You speak the truth, they create guilt. You lose focus, they regain access. That's the pattern. Don't forget that. It's the same pattern. You speak the truth, they create guilt. You lose focus, and then they regain access again. That's the pattern. You name harm, they perform hurt. You soften up, and then the issue disappears. And then you set a boundary. They create emotional consequence. You panic, and the boundary weakens. This is the guilt hook emotion, y'all. And the reason victims stay trapped is because they keep listening to the words instead of studying the effect. You know what I'm saying? This is the deepest lesson in this chapter. Stop only asking what they said. Start asking what their words did to your nervous system. Did their words make you abandon your point? Did their words make you feel like the villain? Did their words make you rush to comfort them? Did their words make you forget when you spoke up? Did their words make you shrink your truth? That tells you more than the sentence itself. Because manipulative language is not just about the context, it's about the effect. A lot of people are not trying to understand your boundary. They're trying to make holding it feel unbearable. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? That is the language of the guilt hook, y'all. And let me speak from the inside out. One more time. See, the manipulators know something important. If they attack you too directly, you might wake up. If they are too cruel, you might leave. But if they're too obvious, the mask slips. So they become emotional, disappointed, fragile, misunderstood, wounded, heavy, complicated. Now the victim stays confused because the harm does not look like harm anymore. It looks like pain. It looks like sadness. It looks like need. It looks like love going wrong. But the result is the same, y'all. You're still being moved off your center. That's how the language works, okay? Not by proving you are wrong, but by making your truth expensive. You know what I'm saying? The guilt hook makes truth expensive, okay? It makes honesty costly. It makes boundaries emotionally punishing. It makes self-protection feel morally dirty. And the more your body gets trained by that system, the more you start censoring yourself before they even speak. You know what I'm saying? That is when the hook gets the deepest, when they no longer have to guilt you directly, y'all, because your mind does it for them. Now you feel bad for setting the boundary. Now you over explain before saying no. Now you rehearse how to be gentle. Now you worry about their reaction more than your own well being. Now you become your own supervisor, your suppressor. Now you become your own suppressor. That is when the guilt hook has moved inside of you. You know what I'm saying? And that is why freedom requires more than seeing the pattern, okay? Y'all heard what I said? Freedom requires more than seeing the pattern. You have to retrain yourself. You literally got to retrain yourself to survive the discomfort or the disappointment. Make it through that trauma bond. Because their disappointment is not always proof you did wrong. Sometimes it's proof the control stopped working. That's the lesson, okay? The language of the guilt hook built built to make your boundary feel like betrayal. But once you decode the phases, you stop entering the script. You stop defending your right to breathe. You stop explaining basic respect. You stop treating their reaction like your moral report card. And that is when the room changes. That is when your energy comes back. And this is when the hook starts losing power, okay? Anybody here, who here got hit when you change? Once you started protecting yourself? You change. Anybody in the chat, anyone here feel guilty before you even sent the text before? You felt guilty before you even sent the text? Did they ever make your boundary feel like you could, like you set a boundary? They made it feel like you committed a crime just because you set a boundary? Yes. You know what I'm saying? That's how it get, man. Looking on eggshell. Inconvenience. We at 31. I love y'all. Let's get 40 now. Appreciate y'all. I sent them, unsent them. And make you want to cuss? Go ahead, let it out. You gotta let it out. It's okay. Alright, y'all ready for chapter 4? Put a Christmas tree. I appreciate you, Mahali, been tabbing. Yeah, we know exactly what we do. Everything strategic. Narcissist, I know exactly everything. I knew since I knew I was a narcissist since 5th grade. You feel? I told y'all be. Everything I did was strategic, planned, and fun. But I'm not bragging about that. I'm telling y'all my past. I'm here to teach y'all, expose this shit down. But y'all know we get new people every day who don't know me, so I gotta explain to them, to the new people, that it's education purpose. Now look, this is chapter 4. How the guilt hook rewires the victim. Okay, and why good people start feeling wrong for choosing themselves. Okay. Now we gotta go deeper than words. Okay. Because a lot of people think the guilt hook is just something emotional. They think it just makes you feel bad for a little while. They think it's just a few arguments, a few tears, a few heavy conversations. No. The guilt hook changes the victim from the inside. It starts training their body, training their thoughts, training their self-concept, training their instincts, training what feels safe and what feels dangerous. That is why people stay in dynamics they know are killing their peace, because after enough exposure, the problem is not just the manipulator anymore. The hook starts living inside the victim. You know what I'm saying? That's the dark part. At first, the victim still knows what feels wrong. They notice the pressure. They notice the heaviness. They notice the guilt after the boundaries. They notice how every honest conversation somehow turns into them feeling like the bad one. At first, they still question it. But over time, if this keeps happening again and again, something shifts. Now they do not just experience guilt, they begin anticipating guilt. And that changes everything. Anticipating guilt. You hear me? You feel me? Now before they even speak, their body tightens. Before they even send a text, their chest gets heavy. Before they even say no, their mind starts building explanations. Before they even name what hurt them, they already feel like they are doing something cruel. Okay? That's conditioning, y'all. The manipulator may not even be in a room anymore, but the victim has already been trained to punish themselves in advance. That is how the guilt hook gets internalized. You know what I'm saying? And once it gets internalized, the victim starts doing the manipulator's job for them. Okay? They start fitting their words. They start shrinking their needs. They start softening their truth. They start explaining too much. They start apologizing before saying anything real. They start checking the other person's emotional weather before checking their own pain. That is not a natural peace, y'all. That is the nervous system management inside a toxic structure. So let's break it down like chemistry. What the guilt hook actually requires, y'all. First, I'm going to tell you, the guilt hook first, it requires your relationship with boundaries. Okay? A healthy person sees a boundary as information. A toxic system trains you to see a boundary as danger. So now every time you try to protect yourself, your body reacts like you're starting a war. Not because the boundary is wrong, it's because the backlash has been repeated so many times that your body associates self-protection with emotional punishment. So now you avoid boundaries. Not because you do not need them, it's but because they feel expensive. They feel exhausted. They feel like too much drama. They feel like something you will have to pay for later. That is why so many victims say, I just kept the peace. I didn't want to deal with the aftermath. I didn't want to feel like arguing. I just let it go. No. A lot of times, they did not let it go. They abandoned themselves to avoid the guilt storm. You know what I'm saying? See, and then it requires your relationship with honesty too. Now, telling the truth, feel me? You heard what I said? Now it requires your relationship with honesty too. The guilt hook. Now telling the truth feels dangerous. Not because truth is wrong, because truth has repeatedly led to emotional chaos. So the victim starts editing. They stop saying exactly how bad it was. They stop saying how angry they really are. They stop saying how tired they really feel. They stop saying what they really notice. Now they become raw. They become soft. They become careful. They become filtered. Why? Because they learned that direct honesty brings punishment. Direct honesty brings sadness. It brings the withdrawal. It brings deflection. It brings victimhood. It brings confusion. It brings coldness. It brings heavy energy. So now, even when they speak, they are no longer fully speaking. That is what the guilt hook does, y'all. It does not always silence you completely. Sometimes it trains you to speak in a way that can never fully free you. You get what I'm saying? You feel me? And then it rewrites your reality. This part is the deepest. You get what I'm saying? At first, the victim believes, I am a caring person. But after long enough in the guilt hook, that starts changing it to, I am responsible for keeping people emotionally okay. That's the danger shift. Because now your worth is no longer coming from who you are. It's coming from what you absorb, what you fix, what you calm down, what you carry, what you forgive, what you endure. See, not now being a good person means self-abandonment. Now being loving means self-erasure. Now being understanding means tolerating what is draining your spirit. You know what I'm saying? That's why some victims feel empty when they leave, because they were not just attached to the person, they were attached to the role of the fixer, the holder, the forgiver, the one who stays, the one who understands, the one who can take pain and still love. That role can become an addiction because it gives identity, it gives purpose, it gives moral meaning. It lets the victim feel special in the middle of the suffering. So when they finally pull away, they do not just lose the relationship, they lose the version of themselves that was built around surviving it. That is why healing can feel disorienting, because now you have to learn who you are when you are not being emotionally used. Okay? Now, didn't rewire your nervous system, y'all. This is where people start saying things like, I don't know why I panic so fast. I overthink every text. I feel guilty all day. I can't relax. I feel like I'm always waiting for the mood to change. I feel like I have to explain everything perfectly. See, that is the body remembering the pattern. When that happens, that is the body remembering the pattern. The guilt hook creates hypervigilance. The victim becomes alert to tone, pauses, wording, mood changes, silence, distance, and coldness. They become a scanner, always reading, always adjusting, always trying to prevent emotional fallout. That is exhausting, y'all. And what makes it so hard to name is that from the outside, it can look like care, like kindness, like patience, like being thoughtful. But inside, it feels like tension. It feels like walking on psychological glass. It feels like needing permission to be fully real. I'm saying that is not connection. That is containment through pressure. Okay? And then it rewires your relationship with guilt itself. This is the dark and twist of it all. Eventually, the victim stops using guilt as a moral signal. They start using guilt as a trigger for obedience. You hear me? I say eventually the victim stops using guilt as a moral signal. They start using guilt as a trigger for obedience. The guilt no longer means I did something wrong. It starts meaning go fix it. Go explain. Go soothe them. Go make the room calm again. Go abandon your point. Go back in your position. Go get back in your position. That is how guilt becomes behavioral control. And once that happens, the victim can no longer trust guilt automatically, because the guilt may not be conscious. It may be conditioning. Like I told you, it's conditioning at this point. You know what I'm saying? Listen, because a lot of good people think if I feel this guilty, I must be wrong. No. Sometimes the guilt is not evidence of wrongdoing, y'all. Sometimes it is evidence that your old training is getting challenged. Sometimes guilt rises because a toxic pattern is being erupted. Sometimes guilt is just the alarm system of a role you are outgrowing. That is why healing feels strange. Your freedom will feel wrong before it feels right if you were trained through guilt. Okay, I'm going to go even deeper. See, the guilt hook does not only train victims to stay, it trains them to doubt themselves after they leave. You feel me? See, that is why even after the relationship is over, the person can still be trapped. Now they replay conversations. Now they question whether they were unfair. Now they remember the few soft moments and minimize the damage. Now they think about the other person's pain more than their own recovery. Now they feel haunted by responsibility. That is how the hook survives separation, because the manipulator may be gone, but the internal courtroom remains. The internal courtroom remains. You hear me? And in that courtroom, the victim is always the one in trial. And that is what has to break. Because freedom is not just leaving the room. Freedom is ending the internal prosecution. You have to stop putting yourself on trial every time you choose peace. You have to stop needing your boundary to be painless for the other person before you believe it is valid. You have to stop treating disappointment from toxic people like moral evidence against you. That is the deeper healing, okay? Now, let me talk to y'all real quick. See, a lot of victims say, I just lost myself. No, they say, a lot of victims say, I lost myself. And that is true. You know what I'm saying? But more specifically, many of them lost a version of themselves that could choose freely without first asking guilt for permission. That is what the guilt hook steals. The guilt hook steals inner permission. Okay? You feel me? Permission to feel what you feel. I'm gonna say this slow again. This is what the guilt hook steals. Inner permission, y'all. Permission to feel what you feel. Permission to protect what hurts. Permission to say no without a case study. Permission to leave without proving you were destroyed enough. Permission to stop caring more about their reaction than your reality. Once that permission gets stolen, the victim starts living from emotional approval instead of inner truth. That is why they get, like they say, that is why they look exhausted. That is why they look split. That is why they sound unsure even when they know what happened. That is why they go back and forth. That is why they say, I know I need to leave, but I feel bad. I know this is unhealthy, but I still feel responsible. I know I'm drained, but I keep checking on them. That is not stupidity, y'all. That is conditioning. You do not heal the guilt hook by arguing with every guilty thought, okay? You heal by surviving the discomfort of not obeying it. I'm gonna say that again. You do not heal the guilt hook by arguing with every guilty thought. You heal it by surviving the discomfort and not obeying it. That's the work. You let the guilt rise and still do not chase. You let the heaviness rise and still keep the boundary. You let the urge to explain rise and still stay clear. You let the fear of being misunderstood rise and still tell the truth. You let the other person be disappointed without turning that disappointment to a command. That is how the nervous system learns a new lesson. It learns I can feel guilty and still be right. I can feel bad and still be free. I can care and still not return. I can understand and still not surrender. I can love and still not volunteer for my own destruction. That is when the identity starts rebuilding, y'all. Now the victim is no longer asking, how do I keep them okay with my boundary? Now they start asking, why was I trained to think my boundary needed their approval in the first place? That question right there would change your whole life. Feel me? Because the guilt hook only works as long as your inner world still treats self-protection like a crime. And once that spell breaks, the manipulator starts losing their strongest weapon. Not because they change, it's because you stop translating your pain into an obligation to serve them. That is the lesson, y'all. The guilt hook rewires good people until choosing themselves feel evil, until honesty feels cruel, until boundaries feel dangerous, until freedom feels selfish. But once you see the pattern, once you see that pattern, you stop worshiping guilt, you start studying it, you start questioning it, and you start separating conscious from conditioning. And that is when people begin coming back to themselves. Not the old self that tolerated everything, the real self. The self that can care without collapsing. The self that can feel deeply without being controlled deeply. The self that can hold compassion and still close the door. That is when the hook starts dying, okay? You feel me? Did anybody in this room feel like choosing yourself felt evil at first? You feel me? Who here who here over explains simple boundaries like you in court? Like what? Like you got it feel like you in court. You gotta explain a boundary to a judge or some shit. I got pretty women like I'm Flacco. Y'all ready for chapter 5? This is how to break the guilt hook without losing your heart. Okay, how good people take their power back and stop confusing guilt with love. I just gave y'all 4 chapters. I broke it down, the guilt hook. Now I'm about to tell you how to, you feel me? How to break the guilt hook without losing your heart. You feel me? We at 37K. I appreciate y'all for real, man. My loyal one. My ugly definitely was going crazy. A lot of y'all was tapping. Y'all ready for this? Put a Christmas tree. These niggas not real slimes and imposters. Damn, this is a good lesson. It's one of them ones. Alright, y'all, look. This how to break the guilt hook without losing your heart, okay? How good people take their power back and stop confusing guilt with love, alright? This last chapter is the one that frees people, okay? Because after hearing all this, a lot of people start asking the same question. How do I break the guilt hook without becoming cold? How do I stop caring without turning bitter? How do I protect myself without feeling evil? How do I leave the pattern without losing my heart? That is the real work, because the answer is not becoming heartless. The answer is becoming clear. A lot of people think healing means feeling nothing. No. Healing means you can feel everything and still not betray yourself. You feel me? That's what healing is. Healing means you can feel everything and still not betray yourself. That is power. Breaking the guilt hook starts when you stop treating guilt like an automatic command. That is the first real shift. Just because guilt rises does not mean you need to go back. Just because guilt rises does not mean you need to explain more. Just because guilt rises does not mean you need to abandon somebody. You know what I'm saying? Just because guilt rises does not mean your boundaries working. I'm going to say that again. I want y'all to hear everything I just said. Just because guilt rises does not mean you need to go back. Just because guilt rises does not mean you need to explain more. Just because guilt rises does not mean you abandoned somebody. Just because guilt rises does not mean your boundary is wrong. Okay? Sometimes guilt is just the emotional withdrawal symptom of no longer feeding a toxic cycle. Okay? Now, because many of y'all thought the guilt meant you still belong there. No. Sometimes the guilt only means you are finally doing something different. And doing something different will feel uncomfortable when your nervous system got trained by dysfunction. So this is how people break it. Step 1. Step 1. Stop asking whether they are hurt and start asking what the pattern cost you. This is where victims start waking up. See, because for too long, the whole relationship was built around the other person's feelings, their pain, their reaction, their trauma, their sadness, their confusion, their needs, their emptiness. And your life got built around managing all of that. But freedom begins when the question changes. Not just, do they feel bad, but what happens to me every time I ignore myself to keep them okay? That question is a door. Okay? Because once you answer honestly, the fog starts breaking. I get drained. I get anxious. I lose sleep. I over-explain. I doubt myself. I feel heavy. I abandon my own needs. I keep shrinking. I stop trusting my own voice. I start living the reaction instead of truth. Look how much that costs you. That costs matter. A lot of good people were taught to make themselves invisible in the name of love. This step breaks that, okay? Now, step 2. Learn to let people be disappointed, okay? Y'all gotta learn how to let people be disappointed. This is one of the deepest lessons in healing, okay? Some people are never going to clap for your boundary, okay? Some people are never going to celebrate your clarity. Some people are never going to say, you know what, you were right. Thank you for finally choosing yourself. No. Some people only like the version of you that was easy to override. You know what I'm saying? So when you change, they will call it selfish. They will call it cold. When you change, they'll call you different, mean, prideful, distant, ungrateful. And this is where people fold because they still want to be seen as good while getting free. But freedom requires something painful, y'all. You have to be willing to be misunderstood by people who benefited from your silence. You have to let them be disappointed. Let them be confused. Let them be upset. Let them make their speeches. Let them perform their sadness. Let them sit with the fact they did not have the same assets anymore. Okay? Because their reaction is not always your responsibility. Sometimes it's just the sound of the hook breaking. Okay? Now, step 3. Stop over explaining your boundaries. Over explaining is one of the biggest signs that guilt is still running the system. When people feel solid, they can be clear. When people feel guilty, they start building a whole courtroom case just to say no. They send paragraphs. You feel me? They soften everything. They defend their right to rest. They defend their right to space. They defend their right to not answer. They defend their right to end cycles that are draining them. But here's the truth. The more manipulative the person, the more explanation becomes material. You hear me? That's bad. Look, they would twist it. They would debate it. They would pick it apart. Use one part against each other. And turn your explanation to a new conversation that pulls you right back into the web. That is why healing sounds shorter, y'all. I'm not available for this. I need space. That doesn't work for me. I'm not discussing this further. I heard how you feel, and my decision still stands. That is power. You see? Not loud, not dramatic, not hateful, just clear. Because the boundary is not for getting their permission. The boundary is for giving yourself direction. Okay? Now, step 4. It's another way how you break it. The guilt hook. Separate compassion from access. Separate compassion from access. This is the lesson a lot of empaths y'all need most. See, you can care about somebody and still not let them into your peace. You can understand somebody and still not reopen the door. You can feel sorry for somebody and still not volunteer to be harmed again. You can pray for people from a distance. You can wish them healing from a distance. You can recognize their wound without becoming the bandage they keep bleeding through. That is a mature compassion. You know what I'm saying? See, and mature compassion says, if I care, I must stay available. Real compassion says, I can care and still keep the gate closed. You know what I'm saying? And that changes everything because a lot of people confuse access with love. They think if they cut access, they become cruel. No. Sometimes cutting access is the first honest act of self-respect that they have done in years. For real, for real. You know what I'm saying? Now, step 5. Let the guilt rise without obeying it, okay? This is the real healing. You got to let the guilt rise without obeying. It's important. It's important. Let the guilt rise without obeying it. Not getting rid of the guilt overnight. Not becoming numb. Not pretending it does not bother you. The real healing is this. The guilt rises and you do not run back. The guilt rises and you do not betray your own clarity. The guilt rises and you let it pass through your body without turning into an instruction. That is how the nervous system learns something new. It learns I can survive this feeling. It learns I can let somebody be upset. It learns I can be seen as the villain in a false story and still remain the truth. It learns I can feel the old train and activate without returning to the old behavior. That is how the hook weakens, y'all. Every time you feel guilty and still hold the line, you are teaching your mind and body that freedom is survivable. That is the work. Now, step 6. Build a new identity that is not based on suffering. This part deep. A lot of people don't just need distance from the manipulator. They need distance from the version of themselves that felt valuable only when they was overgiven. That identity has to die. The version of you that needed to be needed The version of you that measured goodness by endurance. The version of you that felt special because you could love people through chaos. The version of you that kept proving in your heart of how much pain you could hold. That version has to be released because your worth was never supposed to come from surviving emotional destruction. Your worth was never supposed to come from being the softest person in the hardest room. Your worth is not in how much you can absorb. It is how aligned you can stay. Okay? Now the new identity starts rising. Here, now I said the new identity starts rising. I am allowed to rest. I am allowed to be clear. I am allowed to say no. I am allowed to disappoint people. I am allowed to choose peace. I am allowed to lead without writing a thesis. I am allowed to care about. No, I am allowed to care without collapsing. I am allowed to protect what is sacred in me. See, that identity breaks the guilt hook. Okay? Now, step 7. Stop romanticizing pain as proof of debt. Stop romanticizing pain as proof of debt. Okay, this one is heavy. A lot of people stayed because the dynamic felt intense. It felt deep. It felt spiritual. It felt rare. It felt like something bigger than ordinary connection. But intensity is not always depth. Sometimes intensity is just instability hitting your nervous system hard. Sometimes what felt deep was actually confusion. Sometimes what felt magnetic was unpredictability. Sometimes what felt spiritual was unresolved pain and guilt trying to like tying two wounds together. So people have to learn this, okay? Just because something hurts deeply does not mean it is meaningful. Just because something consumes you does not mean it's sacred. Just because somebody touch your wounds does not mean they touch your soul. That discernment frees people because now they stop worshiping the pain. Now they stop calling the suffering special. Now they stop chasing closure from the same person who trained the confusion. And that is when the energy starts returning, okay? Now, I'm going to bring the whole lot together. See, the guilt hook only works when you still believe your goodness must be proven through self-betrayal. The moment that belief dies, the system starts collapsing, y'all. You stop explaining your peace to people committed to misunderstanding it. You stop turning sadness into your assignment. You stop confusing your compassion with a contract. You stop calling your exhaustion love, and you stop making your spirit pay rent in toxic rooms. And that is when your power returns, y'all. Not loud, not performative, not angry all the time, just rooted. Okay? Now you can feel guilt and still stay free. Now you can love and still leave. Now you can understand and still detach. Now you can be soft without being easy to control. Now you can help people without becoming their emotional hostage. That is what healing looks like. It's not becoming cold. It's becoming unavailable for what once fed on your warmth. That's the difference. And I want everybody in the live to hear me. Okay? Listen. You are not selfish for refusing to keep bleeding just because somebody got used to feeding from the wound, okay? You are not cruel for choosing peace. You are not evil for ending access. You are not wrong for getting tired. You are not abandoning them just because you stop abandoning yourself. That is freedom. That is the lesson. That is how the guilt hook breaks. And once it breaks, people start meeting themselves again. Not the broken self, not the people pleasing self, not the over explaining self, not the guilty self, the real self, the self that can love without losing shape, the self that can care without carrying what was never theirs, the self that can walk away from pressure and still remain pure in heart. That is the final chapter, y'all. You know what I'm saying? If this live hits you deep, man, I can get this guide too. I'll put it on YouTube. I got this inside CT for free. If you in my community, you get it there. And if you want it directly from me, you can message me and I'll send you the details directly. This deeper than the relationship talk, y'all. This is pattern decode. This is how you stop calling the guilt love and start getting your mind back, okay? If this lesson spoke to you, Join CTU, y'all, or hit me directly if you want this guide. Yeah, tonight we expose the guilt hook, how manipulators make good people feel selfish, protecting themselves, how empaths get trapped through over responsibility, how language gets used to turn balance into betrayal. It was a lot. This one, I ain't gonna lie. Who got a question? I'm gonna answer some questions before I get off here. How y'all like that one though, chat? How y'all like that lesson? It was like light 5 chapters. Feel me? Something light, not too crazy. That's light work compared to all the other stuff we got. That's light. That's light, man. We got way more shit to talk about. Woo! I just hope I just know somebody learned today. I know somebody learned. And that's all that matter, man. It helps so long as it helped one person in here. That's all that fucking matter. You feel me? Our job is done. These niggas not real slimes and imposters. You said it's not too late though. You learning now. Feel me, Tubbs? Don't beat yourself up. You got questions for me? You nigga not real slimes and imposters. You said, why do they guilt trip kids when you go no contact? They use kids as emotional extensions of control, y'all. Feel me? Moving on does not always mean letting go. I'm gonna tell you this. A lot of people can move on romantically and still want control psychologically. The relationship may be over, but the access is what they miss. You feel me? That's what you miss, the access. When you go no contact, they lose direct reach to you. So some of them use the child to keep the emotional cord alive. Not because the child is the focus, but because the child is the bridge. The kid becomes the guilt hook. You know what I'm saying? Same thing compared to the lesson. That's the kid. The kid becomes the guilt hook. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Now the message is you're hurting the child. You're breaking the family. You're the reason things feel different. You're selfish protecting yourself. That is how they flip the story. They move on in the body, but not entitlement. You feel me? They moved on the image, but not in control. They moved on publicly, but privately they still want emotional influence over your nervous system. And kids get used because children are the fastest way to reach a parent's guilt, y'all. That is why it hurts so deep. A mother or father can handle attacks on themselves better than attacks involving their child. So the manipulator knows, if I can't reach your heart directly, I'll reach the part of you that feels responsible for your kid. That does not always mean they miss you. Sometimes it means they miss access. It means they miss being able to disturb your peace. It means like they need the child involved so they do not have to fully accept the boundary. And the darkest part is this: they make the child carry emotional messages the child was never meant to carry. You know what I'm saying? So the real question is not, did they move on? The real question is, did they release control? A lot of them do not. Man, they do not move on from you. They move on from the relationship and still try to keep the psychological leash, y'all. Moving on and releasing control, y'all, are two different things, okay? Yes, sir. Ask me some more questions. I answer a few more. Do you nigga not run? Said, why does a narcissist spin a block? Ain't got no contact. They spin the block because no contact creates a wound to their control. You feel me? A wound to their control, not their ego. A lot of people think they come back because they love you. No. A lot of them come back because silence is disrespect to their false self. Your absence forces them to feel what your presence used to cover. When you go no contact, you are not just leaving the person, you are breaking the system they had with you. You're cutting off access to your attention, the emotions, your reactions, your confusion, your energy. All of this shit that's deep. Yeah? So when they spin the block, it is often about one or five things, y'all. First, they want to see if they still have access. Can they still make you answer? Can they still shift your mood? Can they still pull you into emotion? Can they still get a reaction? Sometimes the message is not even about reconnection. It's about testing the door. Gotta go into my archive messages. You know what I'm saying? Second is they want relief from ego injury. They just want the relief from ego injury. No contact tells them something they hate. You can live without me. You can heal without me. You can stop orbiting me. That bruises the image they had of themselves. So they come back to prove to themselves they still matter in your system. It's just me versus myself at this point. Or third, they miss the supply, not the responsibility. This is another reason we'll come back. They miss being mirrored, miss being centered, miss being emotionally fed, miss having a place to unload, to dominate, charm, confuse, or pull. You feel me? Pull that energy from. But missing supply is not the same as being ready to love, right? Okay? Fourth is they are responding. Remember I said one of these five things. They are responding to the replacement failure. Sometimes whoever came after you did not give them what you gave. It did not feed the image enough. Did not tolerate enough. Did not admire enough. Did not regulate them enough. You feel me? So now they have to circle back. Not because they changed, but because your value became clear once they lost access to it. Fifth, they want to interrupt your closure. This is the deep part, man. This is why a lot of times you come back. They want to interrupt that closure so you won't heal. You know what I'm saying? Some people cannot stand the idea of you reaching peace without them. They do not want you fully healed, fully clear, fully detached. So they reappear right when you start getting your mind back. Not to rebuild, sometimes just to reopen the wound and remind your body of the old cycle to trigger that wound, the trauma bomb. That's why people get confused, because the return can look soft. It can look nostalgic. It can look regretful. It can look spiritual. It can look like growth. But the real question is not why they come back. The real question is what pattern comes back with them. Did accountability come back? Did consistency come back? Did humility come back? Did change behavior come back? Or did they just come back with a new tone and the same hunger? See, a lot of them spend a block because no contact takes away their mirror. And some people don't come back for love. They come back because they cannot stand being erased from your emotional world. You know what I'm saying? They don't always miss you. Sometimes they miss access to your nervous system. Need somebody to motherfucking stimulate my mind. Yeah, I hope I answered some of y'all questions though. But I'm about to say this, y'all. Before I get off, I need y'all to hear me clearly, okay? Tonight was not just about narcissists, okay? This was about your mind, your peace, your boundaries, your nervous system, your right to stop feeling guilty for saving yourself, okay? A lot of y'all been calling survival love. A lot of y'all been calling guilt connection. A lot of y'all been carrying emotional weight that was never yours. And tonight, I wanted to break that spell. You know what I'm saying? You are not selfish for protecting yourself. You are not cold for pulling back. You are not wrong for getting tired. You are not evil because somebody lost access to the version of you they could control. You know what I'm saying? See, some of y'all do not need one more sign. You need permission. Permission to stop explaining. Permission to stop chasing closure. Permission to stop translating disrespect into pain and calling it depth. Permission to choose peace without waiting for everybody to understand it. And I'm telling you tonight, y'all, choose you. Choose the version of you that does not have to bleed to prove they got a heart. Okay? Choose the version of you that can love and still leave. Choose the version of you that can feel deeply without being controlled deeply. And choose the version of you that no longer mistakes guilt for loyalty. That is your power, okay? If y'all need deeper help, I'm doing one-on-one calls today. I'm doing calls. If you want one-on-one clarity and want me to help you decode your situation directly, message me the book. And if you want the full guide, it's a CTU, y'all, for free. And you can message you can message me direct if you want that book. I appreciate everybody that came in here tonight, everybody that listened, everybody that shared, everybody that felt seen. Now take this lesson with you. Not everybody who feels hurt is safe to keep close. Now take this lesson with you. Not everybody who feels hurt is safe to keep close. Not everybody who misses you deserves access to you. And not every guilty feeling means you're doing something wrong, okay? Sometimes guilt is the old chain reacting because you finally stopped wearing it, okay? I'll see y'all soon, all right? No cap.